that because you're always gonna have that urge, that feeling of getting those
Mm.
accounts, all those big trades. So I think the best way is just to do them, but with a portion of
Mm.
capital that is controlled.
Yeah, but
That's
that comes with adulting and responsibility, and we joined the DGen world just so that we could be like, hey, I bought a coin called Retardio, and now I'm fabulously wealthy with boats and hoes, and I've got my own private army. But no, no. Oh
no, I think
man.
so.
So what
I
was
think
there was completely forgot it. It was the AI and security narrative. There was something I was looking at the other day. It would have been something that you'd mentioned. Fuck. Ignore that. Ignore that. There was something I saw on Twitter, but I just cannot remember what it was. But it was AI and security, which seems to be the narrative. Oh, yeah, that was it. That Michael Burry, the big short guy, right? He's
yeah,
making all these noises about like the ass is about to fall out of AI. And what I kind of make of that is he's like, well, okay, then this is a new technology and it'll go through the same cycle as all the technologies do. A whole bunch of people will turn up, things will explode for a bit, and then the products themselves will either work or they don't work. And then that's what can affect the price of it. So Michael Burry's saying the ass is going to fall out of AI. Well, maybe it is. Maybe we just, that's how the market works. We need to cull certain participants, you know what I mean? And then, so I heard
I don't think.
that and
Well,
I thought, yeah.
depends on what context he's talking about. Is he talking about the companies or he's talking about the technology?
Well, I didn't read the article, Maurizio. Fuck
Yeah,
me, there was about
mate.
2,000
That
words. What was I meant to
and
do? I just read the headline, made the assumptions, and that's it. And I put my trade on.
there you go. Yeah, yeah. No, no. I think I don't know. Depends on what context, because
Yeah.
there's too much shit going on in AI at the moment. Very interesting things
Mm.
happening. So, well, but anyhow, how you guys doing today? Sorry that my voice is a little bit funny.
Hey,
Have a
Todd, I've
little bit of a
started playing
cold.
tournament poker now, Todd. Yeah, yeah. A different way to mentally torture myself.
Tournament poker. Is that
Yeah.
like, but live? Like you go, or
No,
it's all
no, no.
live?
It's on the computer, so we can all sit in our
Right.
underpants sweating, you know what I mean?
Okay.
Pretending that we're
Okay.
ripped superheroes.
Right. Man, I don't want a picture, please. You have to put those pictures in my head. I need to sleep tonight properly. So,
Oh yeah, but I mean, if this was Scott, he would show you.
uh,
You know?
well, go for it, man. I can just turn my back up for a little bit, and then people can enjoy
It's
the
it's
show.
like your risk metaphor, Maurizio. You know what I mean? Tournament poker's just another way of lining up a bunch of fists to pummel your face so you can say, yeah, yeah, I really enjoyed that. Yeah, thanks. I think I'll go and do some trading. Oh, I got stopped out. Yeah, yeah.
Fair enough. What happened with virtual? All right, we'll go into virtual because you told me that you didn't move the stop loss to break even. So
I
did you
in the end I decided to get out of it. Well, I
right?
looked
I
at the
think good
new
choice, yeah.
I looked at the new trades that you launched,
Yep.
ETH, and there was a couple of others. And as you were already out of it, and I was already halfway to the stop, I just thought
Yep.
I'm
Yep.
gonna pull the
That's
plug.
good. I think let's get cracking. So how are you guys
Mm.
doing today and how are you feeling so about crypto? It's back, it's not back. It is the bull is retracing. How do you guys feel? It's been interesting. Yeah, Jason, it's never easy. When you think it's easy, he's gonna bite you in the back. And this is not only crypto, this is pretty much every single market that you trade. So yeah, that's basically Graham says pullbacks. Jason targeting 65 next. Okay, based on any ideas why it's going to 65 from your perspective? Donna. Yeah, all right. New Fed chair. Yeah, that's gonna be interesting as well. Yeah, all right. Let me tell you where I'm at. So, okay, let me just share my screen. I don't have much today, but I because we've been talking about it for a while, right? Can you actually see my screen? Yeah, yeah.
We can, dude.
All right. So I don't have much, and the reason why I don't have much is because we've been talking about this for a while. Okay, so we got excited, we got long, and some tokens and some coins, whatever you want to call it, and made a little bit of money, but then we protected the capital, putting the stop loss break even, right? I wanted to go short, but there's a few things that I'm watching on this market. So the first thing is to go through the macro just to remind us, right? Why are we watching and why I didn't go long fully at that you know what I mean, at that breakout, right? Because we were very close to a downtrend sort of main resistance, right? And can this come back and actually break it? Yeah, it can, right? So let me tell you where I'm at. I'm kind of, I don't know where things are heading, but I don't see a lot of pressure. I don't see a lot of institutional buying. That's basically what it is. So with that being said, we do have a chance of moving lower. Okay, that's kind of my biggest probability. But you know, markets always wants to do the opposite to the what you want. So this could do something like this, fuck around again, and then bang. That's definitely one option that I'm watching, right? I'm with I think Jason mentioned it was we could probably go down to 65. 65 is about here. That's definitely a possibility. But based on what? I don't know. I don't like to see I don't like to place those targets. What I want to see is if we get to 65, then I want to see reaction of buyers at that level. So if we start getting lower, especially the one that the level that I'm targeting, I don't know if we're gonna get there or not, but if you think from the perspective of liquidity grabs, right? So let me just move this down. All right, sorry, just had to sneeze. um, okay, so we know the big picture from the weekly. Now we go to the daily and we start making assumptions, right? So this is liquidity over the weekend. Okay, so always have in mind when the push on when the sales happen. Okay, because that gives you an understanding of who could actually drive the market. Okay, so for the last 2 days, so this was Friday, we knew, like in a way, we knew that we didn't gonna have a strength to push the market. Why? Because options were expiring. Monthly options were expiring on Friday. We've been talking about it last week, right? So that creates volatility. So if something is expiring, especially options on Bitcoin and all this sort of stuff, is it's not an incentive to buy. What do you guys think? So if you know that ahead, right? I wouldn't say, okay, if something is expiring soon, unless the price is really attractive, I'm not going to buy anything. Would you agree?
That's a really interesting question. If something is expiring soon, am I more tempted to buy?
Because especially on options, and if I kind of understand the big picture of options. I'm not a big trader of options and futures and things like that. But when they expire, right, is they're going to have settled. So whoever put the option to whatever direction and whatever is going to settle. So that creates volatility. But then big investors are always looking at that, right? They're looking at where the market is heading and what are the risks ahead, right? So risks ahead, you have inflation, you have uh, all these macro events, PPI, CPI, FOMC, all that sort of stuff, right? And the market moves accordingly. And Bitcoin now it moves more according to that. Like prior years, this is my thinking, and I could be completely wrong, right? Prior, Bitcoin being institutionalized, call it that way, right? When the ETF was created, that didn't matter much because the drivers were different people, like the people that actually bought that were you and me, right? Well, if you were in crypto. So yeah, it mattered, but not heavily. Now, Bitcoin is becoming really, really a risk assets. It's now part of the portfolio of so many, so we have to take into look into those things more regularly. That's basically what I've been thinking. And lo and behold, now you can see reactions when the PPI, CPI, all that sort of stuff, which it's now it's became a fucking uh my regular market. It's just a risk asset market. Okay, so that's basically what I've been seeing for the past year, especially after the ETF actually got approved. So, with that being said, okay, so coming back to Friday, that was the I didn't want to do anything on Friday over the weekend. So, where we at now? All right, let me ask you where we at now, and just tell me, you guys, would you buy? Would you sell? Would you go short? Would you go long? Uh, by the way, I haven't done any shorting. I know. Because I really want to. And put in the comments if you guys are okay for me to put in the like because obviously you guys are the ones that are following pretty much the trades. Uh, do you want to see more shorts? However, you have to be aware that shorts you're gonna have a lot of you're gonna need to monitor yourselves. Okay, so let me know if you're interested in that, and then we can start doing a little bit more shorting in because shorts, the psychology of shorts are completely different than the psychology of longs. Okay, and so why is that? And okay, let me just go back to what I'm saying. So, Donna, if I have money LDCA now, yes, I agree. I, in terms of a long term, I did talk about it last week. In terms of long term Bitcoin, I'm still very bullish. And I keep DCA in every single week. Do $5, $10, and you you'll be amazed how much your portfolio will grow over time, right? All right, so where we at? Let me just delete all this stuff that we did yesterday, last week.
You were asking about how we feel about the market, Maurizio, and you always say,
Yeah.
we've got to come up with our own definitions. So it's like I'll try and come up with a specific definition, but it's like the market has just rallied, and now it's kind of deciding what to do next. I know that's not very
Mm-hmm.
scientific, which makes me apprehensive about committing to long or short, because I look at the
Mm-hmm.
market and I think, well, can I see enough evidence to form a case for short or for long, or do I need to just,
Mm-hmm.
so I wouldn't want to, we never want to ape in, but like right now, the
Mm-hmm.
choice is not obvious. And if the choice isn't obvious, that means I need to wait and stop and look and think.
Correct. I agree. So right now, this is the way I'm looking at things. Okay. So option one is the one that I highlighted. So now we know that on the macro spectrum, on the weekly, we're bearish, right? So if we are bearish, I wanna go short, right? Like if that's my definition, I wanna go short at some point. Okay. So is this a good time to go short right now? And from the daily perspective, I will say not really. And the reason why is as follows. So you have this little level right here, right? Okay. That level there where you can actually see that the market sort of bounce, 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 and then finally broke out. Okay. So At the moment, this is the current daily candle forming, right? Let me just make this bigger, okay? So we have a better picture. At the moment, I don't know if this is going to retrace or this is going to go all the way down here, which is the next level that I could probably see the market is heading is around 74,000, right? Give or take. So I don't know. I technically I'm going to need to wait until the new candle is formed, but bear in mind that we are on a weekend. Okay, well, obviously it's just Monday, markets are going to open, yada yada yada. Good news things at the now we start looking for context, right? So obviously, options just expired. Um, so from that perspective, I, I was expecting a pullback. It's not a big of a pullback. So if we actually start getting liquidity, right? So now we're going to the investigating sort of aspect, right? So imagine all the possible aspects. So if we get liquidity, this candle could look like this, right? This could actually reclaim this level here, and this could look into a deviation, hunting all the shorts, hunting all the stops in a way, right? And that could be an option. Would you agree or not really? So this is the one that I'm kind of looking. I'm more intrigued into this one based on the movement that we just had, right? And based on um, you know, what it could develop here. Okay. Now, how do I know? I don't know. But let's see if we get more data to to sustain what I'm saying, right? So now I'm going to go and look for this. How's the CVD playing out? By the way, obviously this tool of the CVD is very handy. Let me know if you do want to know more advanced CVD tools. There's a lot of good ones in the markets, but it could get complex, right? But I know probably Todd will love it because that's gonna give you a lot of options to short, to long, or long, stuff like that. Um, but yeah, there's a lot of good tools that you can aggregate orders and see all the CVD playing out, and there's a lot of AI tools that have been developed by looking at the orders, the levels. But it gets complicated, man. That could be a course in itself. Anyhow, coming back to
It's a
this. Okay,
very quick question before you start that CVD. Could we just go back to the Bitcoin chart a second?
sure.
You drew that little diagram. So if my definition of trending is that one candle can be a trending candle, right?
Okay.
Okay, right. But and then so I'm seeing three candles there. So to skip to the chase, my question is when you were going through that, I was thinking, am I looking for a trending trade or am I looking for a mean reversion trade or am I just trying to
Mm-hmm.
fit something because I know those two definitions?
All right, let's go back to the definition first, okay? Because you just mentioned that your definition of trending is a three candle.
No, what I
Is
was
that?
saying was is like if you let's say you did fucking Al Brooks price action, right? That motherfucker will say to you that one candle can be anything. One candle can be a trend candle. One candle can be a trading range. So that's why you have to give your own definitions to it. So if I look at this,
Mm-hmm.
I think, well, I've got three clear candles to the downside. Why is that not trending? And then
All
it's like
right,
then it would be, well, it's trending if you want it to be trending, Ian.
exactly. And it
Yeah.
is your definition like I in my perspective, I do not agree with one candle trend. Uh, y- in my opinion, and my humble opinion, that's bullshit because think about it from the perspective of a trend develops over time. What is a trend? A trend is something that is
A trend is
I was going
people on the sidelines who missed out that want to get in.
no.
Oh, motherfucker,
What
I
is a
thought that was
trend?
it.
Okay, let's go back and what is the definition of trend as a word? What is a trend? Like what let's say, oh, it's trending in Google. What does that mean?
Well, popular would be the first thing that comes to mind.
Correct, I agree. What else?
Um, No, I'm going in 12 different directions. I was thinking price rising. What does
No,
trending
don't think
mean?
about don't think about price. Think about what
Mm.
the word trend means.
It means that it's hot, it's a narrative, it's out there. More people than yesterday are talking about it. New people want to
Eh,
start getting into it. Yeah,
there
there's a
you go.
buzz.
Exactly. All right. Now from that definition, right? From that definition, now how the trend is formed. So you mentioned okay, more people want to go into the talking about it, yada 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 yada.
Hmm.
That's when in the that's when you need multiple candles to develop a trend. Why? You get the higher highs and higher lows. Why? Because some people sell, some people buy. This is the trend. People want to go in, people want to sell, but sell a little bit, they hold it. That's how a trend is formed. You know what I mean? That's my
Hmm.
perspective. I'm not saying that he's right or wrong, but I'm
Oh,
saying
it's all right.
that.
I'm not. This is not a hill I'm dying on. This is just a great conversation.
So, but think about it from that perspective.
Mm.
That's how any trend is formed. Now, let's now do the big picture here. And if you talk about trends, you need to talk about what time frame of trend you're looking at. Is that on
Hmm.
a daily? Is that on a monthly? Is that on a weekly? Is that on a 1 minute? Is that you know what I mean? Like
Hmm.
because you're gonna see trends develop uh all the time. So if you go on the weekly, the trend that I'm looking is a downward trend. Why? Because I don't see like you see like that's definitely you see lower highs and lower lows. Okay,
Hmm.
and it moves downward. What that means is someone with big capital is using all this price. Think about it from the perspective now what market makers tend to do.
Hmm.
Market dump here, a lot of sellers, right? And these people that are trapped, they need to get out if they think that the market is going lower. So that's how a trend develops over time, right? So obviously they use all the liquidity that comes out here to get out, right? To
Hmm.
sell onto this, right? So from the weekly perspective, this is a bearish trend. Would you agree?
Yeah, I agree. It's obvious to an 8-year-old.
Exactly. From the daily, right? From the daily, let's zoom in. All right. From the daily, come on. From the daily, it is kind of a bearish, but this is forming. This is kind of wanting to break that pattern, right? Like you can actually start
Mm.
seeing that from the daily, every day you get people buying into these pullbacks. That's how a trend forms. Exactly the definition you just told me of a trend. People
Hmm.
are talking about it. Fucking Bitcoin is going to the moon again. Bad, 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 bad. That's how markets are formed, right? So from that perspective, this could still look as a deviation, right? And it's
Hmm.
still going from the daily perspective, right?
Hmm.
And from the daily perspective, we could still see that push up to the upside, right? Now, that's basically what I'm watching. Then you can go lower time frames. Like I know Todd does 4 hour, 1 hour, and
Mm.
do the same fucking analysis. And but then obviously your time frames, your targets, your stop losses are going to be different in each one of the time frames. Okay, that's something to be aware of. So that's why I'm very big on definitions. Okay,
Mm.
I'm
Mm.
very big because that drives your decisions. That drives how you see the market, right? So, yeah, obviously, uh, that's kind of where I'm at. So, if we are looking at that particular setup, I'm looking at a possibility of a deviation and what a deviation looks like. And what is a deviation? Let me define that from the psychological perspective. Okay. So a deviation is when a lot of participants went long. Let's say, your 18 market is never going to see the $77,000 again, da, da, da. And also you go long on leverage, right? And you get big market makers doing the stop loss hunt, right? They go and stop you out and then market comes back. This is a deviation and then market have continuation to the upside. Okay, so this is very common in crypto. If you only trade one fucking setup, and if you learn the deviations, fuck man, those are the best possible setups to either direction. So
Right.
what happens here is what I need to be aware of is we have two types of deviations here. Are you ready now for the brain fuck?
Are you going to invert?
But before I invert this, we have this area right here. That could be a deviation towards the downside. Would you agree? Let me
Yeah,
just
I agree.
invert it. All right, to make it more clear. Bang. Clear as us, right? This is a deviation, right? And then we could target this level up here, right?
Mm.
So that's option number one. Option number two is this. It could be a deviation that it could form, but this is not formed yet. The only deviation that I can actually see that might be happening is the weekly one, kind of. Okay,
Mhm.
so that's why I'm confused out. So in terms of which one is going to play out, then we go to look for more evidence. Okay, and what is the evidence that we look for? So obviously news or CBD or whatever. CBD
The
is obviously
cumulative
my
volume delta, because that's real people buying the spot coins, which is more
exactly right.
conviction than leverage buys.
Exactly right. So at this stage, you know, the only influx of buyers they came around on Saturday at $77,000. So I don't feel that this is a really good level to hold. Period. Why? If you see, like I say, if you see that the institutionals are buying maybe on a Wednesday, maybe on a Thursday, maybe they are real buyers buying. But this, the weekend, I never trust weekend perspective from the Bitcoin CBD perspective. Okay, so from that perspective, yes, this could range, but I need to wait to see where the main buyers are going to step in again. Okay, and what else? Okay, so remember that we are sort of investigators trying to find out when the price is going to stop and when we can actually buy and we can actually sell. Okay, now the next one that I use as well that you got like I use it every single day, man, and it gives me sort of the picture. Where are you? IBIT. Where is IBIT? Okay, I did talk about it on Friday. So IBIT, we uh, this one this range, I drew this range probably at the beginning of like in February, like when we have that dump, right? IBIT is one of the biggest ETFs out there. So when you start seeing inflows, and if you see that inflows coming from IBIT, that means are going to be institutional buying, right? Now, what I'm seeing on IBIT, which I did talk about it last week, is this gap here. What do we know about gaps? Gaps usually get filled. Usually. Uh, for instance, this gap right here never got filled, right? The gap between 5,000 to 6,000. So that one never got filled. This one never got filled, but this one got filled. So I'm still open to the fact that this is the first gap that we're going to fill, and if we have weakness, then we might fill all the gaps right here. So that's probably, I'm leaning more towards the bearish side of things than the bullish side of things this week based on this analysis. Okay, so would I go long? Not really, right? But I'm always open to the long on different levels, especially that's kind of where I'm aiming. Another aspect that I'm watching, and you guys know, and somebody actually asked in the group, and thank you, Jason, for answering, is how do you build these charts, the USDT and USDC dominance? So with the USDT and USDC dominance, what I do is I put them together and you basically do let me just if you copy this formula let me just put it in the chat that's how you build it That's the average of both, right? Uh, so is the crypto capital USDC. Why I use USDC as well. And I'm gonna tell you some news as well. So USDT, this is why I use both. I not only use one. USDT is being sort of the king, right? All the swaps, Bybit, a lot of exchanges use this USDT as a collateral, right? But USDC began to be another huge competitor. Now you have Circle, which drives this thing. Coinbase uses USDC heavily. Now you have Hyperliquid doing deals with, you know, the market exchanges and all that. And what is the main collateral of Hyperliquid? USDC. So that's why I use both, right? Uh, you could have both independent here, right? They all look alike, but then if I use the average, all right. Now going back to how I use it and why. We know that if we see the dominance of these of the use of stable coins, right? Of the main stable coins going off range of losing trend, then it means something. So if it goes up, it means that people are cashing out. It's people are not buying any assets. If they hold in USDC, that's why it's the dominance. But if this goes down, it means they're going into assets. They're going in it. I don't know which assets. That's our job to figure it out. But this is when people are feeling that is okay to start buying. Very important. So what do we see here? This is another deviation, right? This is another deviation. The only respect that we have is this level up here. If we break that level, I think we're going to have a really good dive down to Bitcoin, but I'll be preparing to rebuy assets if we hit that level again. That's basically a small plans that I'm heading. Or is this going to happen? I don't know. But based on that, I'm seeing two deviations on main markets. Also, here's another thing. The S&P 500. Now we had our first pullback, right? Uh, so obviously we are all-time highs right now in crypto. So sorry, in crypto in S&P 500. So I'm looking at interesting levels for the market to hold. Simple as that, right? So if not, then expect that Bitcoin will be a little bit more under the pump. Okay. Another big one that I'm looking is the Russell, and I talked about the Russell. The Russell is a very interesting gauge to understand risk assets in the market. So the Russell is an index like the S&P 500, but
Let's
the
investigate
stocks.
all this.
Sorry.
Sorry, Maurizio. I was talking on a thing. I forgot I
Okay,
hadn't muted the microphone.
that's all right. So the Russell, obviously, yeah, it's just a gauge to measure how much investors want to go into risk assets. This is riskiest stocks, all right? So obviously, if you start seeing a lot of this, I kind of expect that because Bitcoin, believe it or not, is a risk asset. But what I'm seeing here is a lot of gaps as well to be filled, okay? Uh, Based on that, that's why I want to say I'm 70% bearish than bullish at this stage. Okay. So option one is if we do get the deviation. Option two, if we don't, then obviously shorting here is very risky. What I'm going to do is wait on all these levels to see how the market reacts. And if that's the case, I'm still going to buy. So probably if I'm looking at this level here, right, around 70 to see if we do have buyers there and we can perhaps yeah, if we get that flush, maybe that could be an interesting buy right there. Okay, that's the one that I'm watching heavily. All right. So yeah, I think that's it, guys. Obviously probably a lot of information, but I think it was it's a pretty good information and to see why what I'm waiting for, You know what I mean? And this could take days or weeks to develop, right? This could be like this, like this, like this, and then probably towards the end of the month, I don't know. Or it could be tomorrow that you get a candle like this, and then you get this, and then bang. You don't know what. So, big one. This is why I'm always on the sidelines. I did talk about it. I did talk about oil, and I'm talking long term, right? I'm talking to get position on all on this oil shit and Iran and all that sort of stuff hasn't been resolved. Okay. Now you're seeing a lot of the economic factors, the CPI, PPI, and all the sort of stuff, going out of proportion due to the fact of oil, right? And that's not good. That's not good for the economy at all. And this hasn't resolved, right? So I did say in order for markets to keep full risk on, this needs to be resolved. Period. Okay. So yeah, there is a lot of things going on. So obviously, this is not the time that investors say, "Oh, economy is great. Let's go fucking all in," unless you have a really good, like huge down. This is when investors say, "Okay, I think I can live with buying at the bottom or are really." This is when prices usually get cheap, right? Or the perception of cheap, right? It's always what's the perception of something. So, right, based on that, I'm on the sidelines. There's going. I don't see a lot of opportunities to get position right now, but I could see opportunities to scalp the market definitely. But you have to be quick in terms of getting position. So in terms of all the stuff that we did last week, so Penguin got some profits. We got to stop out. Pretty much, we got to stop out already. And we got to stop out on profit, by the way, right? Because we moved the stop loss, and that was my reasoning to move the stop loss, right? I didn't trust that move. Was a good option. Yes. Can this come back again and say, "Oh fuck, I would have stayed"? Yada yada yada. Yeah, that could be again. But I'm happy with. I was able to sleep the whole week, so that's a good thing. Tau, we still in. Tau is have we took some. I'm still looking to get more into Tau. Virtual, we got to stop out, right? Uh, Ondo, we're still on Ondo. I want to add more. Let's see if we're going to get stopped out or not. But this level here, it looks like if we get this level here, that this is the one that I'm more interested Ondo. So Ondo, we already took some profits, and where is my this level here? Okay. Obviously, we're going to get stopped out if we get to that level. But if we do get a deviation or not, no, I'm gonna go back in. And I'm gonna go back in a little bit heavier than I did with this and targeting this area right here. Again, the recent highs and same play. Takes 50% off, move the stop loss, and if we catch that trend, it's gonna be happy days. I don't know if you guys are still in JST. This trade was fucking great. We still have a little bit of there. That's it, guys. There's nothing else for me. Just to wait, and that's their playbook.
Amazing, Maurizio. Amazing. So, one of the things I was thinking about this kind of ongoing Iran war was where people are putting their money, you know. Um,
Hmm.
and it
Hmm.
maybe now more people look to put their money into Bitcoin when we have these wars. And I'm making a lot of assumptions here, but I mean, I specifically mean like, people in countries and economic zones that are affected by these wars, where their banks are failing or they can't get their money out the country or whatever. Crypto
Yeah.
suddenly, like Bitcoin suddenly seems a bit more appealing. So I wonder if there'll be the kind of that the wars come to an end as such, or we say, okay, that's it, we're having a ceasefire, and then Bitcoin fucking kicks in hard for its remaining part of the bear year, spurred
Yeah.
on by everybody being like, right, my Bitcoin's losing value. Now the war's over. Let's get it out of there. You know what I mean? Now I've nothing to back that up. No evidence. That is purely
Yeah.
fucking speculative, you know? But you think that idea's got like any legs to it?
Of course, mate. Okay, so you have to understand. Okay, and this comes with the perspective that I am a crypto guy. I love Bitcoin. I love. Uh, you have to
Mm,
understand the two things that we're trying to the Bitcoin trying to solve. Okay, and Bitcoin as currency is as an asset, and I think it's going to a different. So that's why I keep saying this, man. If you guys have a long-term portfolio of buying fucking Bitcoin every fucking week, that's been the best investment strategy I ever done in my life. And I keep doing it. You know what I mean? It's like buying the index. I don't know if you have heard that, you dollar cost average the index. If I don't do anything, my portfolio is still
mm,
alive, man. I'm serious. And I'm happy I did it a year ago. Okay, so that's not trading. That's just investing because I believe in the Bitcoin longevity of what it's trying to solve. And
mm,
now it opened the gate to currency changes, things like that. Now you have USDT, USDC. So I'm still big on Bitcoin from that perspective. So I'm biased. I'm always biased
mm,
towards a long-term Bitcoin. Am I going to be wrong? Maybe. You know what I mean? Like, but it's just an asset that you keep if you keep DCA into it, man. Is performing over the years, right? That I'm serious. This is the biggest thing. Like, if I don't do anything else, like if I stop now, the only thing that I'll keep doing is that buying Bitcoin on an average basis. I do it by the way, every Wednesday. Um, Find that that's the best way you can automate that thing and you set and forget. There's going to be times that your portfolio is under the water, but all of a sudden Bitcoin recovers and your portfolio is up for grabs, man.
yeah.
So that's been that's been the best strategy. That's the strategy that I'm setting up my kid with. That's the strategy that and not only Bitcoin, other assets, right? But
Mm,
if you
mm.
pick good assets that actually over time is going to have longevity.
Well, those mofos who were holding ETH, they thought that, and it was a wet firework. This time around, it was just a floppy fish. You didn't get rich with ETH, so there isn't anything guaranteed in this game, is there? You know what I mean? Like it's my belief that Bitcoin's here to stay, and that Bitcoin's a value asset. And if I understand Bitcoin correctly, I agree with its origins, that it was like a rebuke to TradFi after the sort of 2008 fuckery, if you know what I mean, that it would be a completely different thing. But ultimately, I'm just here for the money. Fuck the technology, you know what I mean? It can do whatever it wants.
Yeah. But yeah, that's a different approach, different thing. You know what I mean? That
Mm,
so obviously, yeah. But I do agree with that. Like on that, like in the nutshell, I do agree that
mm,
because it's been proven over and over again. When you have the Ukraine the only people that were able to actually get out was people that had Bitcoin. Uh,
mm,
you know, the technology has been proven, and whatever you do as a currency, and
mm,
it ticks all the boxes for a currency. It ticks
mm,
so long
mm.
term. I'm still like, and that's the safest one at the
Oh, yeah.
moment.
Oh,
So
here in Thailand, the girls in the bars get the geeky men to say that they're into crypto, and then two big bruisers turn up at his apartment and put a knife to his throat and say, "Right, get your
far
ledger
out,
out,
man.
transfer
Yeah,
the cash."
yeah. You have to be very careful.
Yeah, you do, man. You do. Yeah, yeah.
So that's another, but that's another thing. Like
Anyway, I'm straying into silliness now. So,
yeah. But that's another thing. Crypto gives you sovereign over your money. With that being said, there's other risks that go with that, right?
Hmm.
You lose your wallet, you're fucked. You lose your keys, you're fucked. So you have to understand that as well. Okay, so it's not all happy days. Okay, where do you
Mm.
keep your keys? How are you gonna transfer that to your kids? Yada yada yada, all this sort of shit. You, it's your responsibility. So if you get hacked, it's your responsibility. If you so you want sovereignty, that's what you need to take responsibility of. You need to learn how to use it, how to use it correctly, how to protect yourself. Oh fuck! Then I need to buy another computer in order to. This is your responsibility. Don't do it, and then you get hacked. Shit like that, man. You know what I mean? So obviously, a lot of people want the sovereignty without. But you know what I mean? Like so, they don't understand the full picture, man. So
All
yeah.
right.
All
Lovely
right.
then.
With that being
Okay. Well, I
said,
think I'm going to go and shout at the AI for a bit then. Trade for me, trade. But yeah, anyway. Thanks, Maurizio.
all
Catch
right,
you
guys,
later,
have a good
dude.
day.
Ta-da.
Bye bye.